So I really look at I love a challenge though, and I'm just so proud of every bit of it. We went through a whole roller coaster of the human experience, and I'm very proud.
Marvel fans were left in utter shock when news broke that the studio had taken the jaw-dropping step of suing Blake Lively. For a powerhouse like Marvel, which typically avoids public legal showdowns, especially with A-list names, this move felt like an earthquake shaking Hollywood. The buzz? Allegations that Blake got her hands on confidential Deadpool intel and leaked it for her own benefit. Some insiders even claim she spilled classified details to manipulate the narrative around her own escalating controversies. Steen public image have crossed a line so severe that Marvel had no choice but to take legal action? For months, whispers of behind-the-scenes friction had been circulating across social media, but no one saw this coming. At first, the chatter revolved around Blake's involvement in a highly anticipated film adaptation helmed by Justin Baldoni. When the project was announced, expectations skyrocketed. Blake, known for her polished reputation, joining forces with a director praised for his deeply emotional storytelling? It seemed like a perfect match. But beneath the glossy headlines, cracks began to form. And now, it's all spiraled into a legal war no one expected. Blake was reportedly not thrilled with Justin Baldoni's all-in approach to their film, directing, co-writing, and planning to star. To her, it felt like he was running the entire show, leaving little room for her creative influence. On set, tension simmered. Whispers of frustration hinted that Blake felt sidelined, her ideas drowned out by Justin's firm grip on the production. At first, these clashes stayed behind the scenes, but then, boom! Blake made a bold public accusation, claiming Justin was the one orchestrating negative press against her. According to her, his widespread industry connections gave him the power to feed damaging rumors, painting her as difficult, demanding, and intrusive. For a moment, some believed her. Hollywood has a long, ugly history of men shaping narratives to discredit women. Supporters rallied behind Blake, eager to defend yet another actress facing unfair scrutiny. But then, Justin fought back. His team came armed with receipts, entire chains of text messages that flipped the script on Blake's claims. Instead of exposing Justin as a master manipulator, the messages pointed the finger back at Blake. The text suggested she was the one pulling strings behind the scenes, allegedly threatening to use her own high-powered connections, most notably her husband, Ryan Reynolds, the face of Deadpool's box office domination, to make things go her way. Hollywood power plays don't get messier than this. Talk of dragons and urgent high-stakes calls with powerful media insiders suddenly shifted the spotlight. Blake, once cast as the wronged party, now found herself painted as the possible puppet master behind the scenes. The narrative flipped. Was she the victim, or had she been the one pulling the strings all along? At first, it was just another explosive Hollywood feud. Messy, sure, but still confined to industry drama. But then, it crossed into Marvel territory, and that changed everything. Deadpool, the once risky project that Ryan Reynolds had fought tooth and nail to bring to life, had exploded into one of Marvel's biggest cash cows. Fans couldn't get enough of the wisecracking anti-hero, and Ryan's razor-sharp comedic timing made him irreplaceable. His off-screen charm only cemented his status as one of Marvel's top moneymakers. For years, this synergy seemed untouchable. But as Blake's dispute with Justin Baldoni spiraled, whispers began to swirl. Had Ryan's own resources, and by extension, Marvel's highly classified Deadpool intel, been used in the battle to salvage Blake's public image? It sounded unthinkable, but insiders were buzzing with speculation. Could Deadpool-related leaks have been deliberately planted to distract from Blake's growing PR nightmare? And if so, had top-secret Marvel material been weaponized to shift the headlines? Marvel's legal team wasn't about to take chances. Behind closed doors, they quietly began combing through documents, searching for any proof that confidential Deadpool details had been leaked. If the rumors were true, Blake hadn't just overstepped, she'd crossed a line that no one comes back from. At first, fans struggled to connect the dots. How could Deadpool's top secret details possibly be used as leverage in a completely unrelated Hollywood feud? But the answer was surprisingly simple. Any juicy tidbit about the wisecracking anti-hero, plot leaks, surprise cameos, even unfinished script lines would dominate headlines instantly, conveniently shifting the media's focus. If Blake needed to deflect attention from the swirling accusations about her alleged power moves, all it would take was one well-placed Deadpool leak. Imagine the impact of a bombshell reveal, like a major Avenger making an unexpected cameo. Instantly, the entire entertainment world would drop everything to dissect the news, pulling the spotlight away from Blake's escalating controversy. And given that Ryan Reynolds is the beating heart of the Deadpool franchise, it wasn't far-fetched to believe she had access to highly classified Marvel intel. Speculation turned into an all-out legal war when Marvel made its move. The studio's official announcement was careful, calculated, stating that someone had intentionally misused confidential materials tied to one of their biggest franchises. They didn't name names outright, but those with inside knowledge knew exactly who they were talking about. Behind closed doors, Marvel insiders confirmed what the industry had already started whispering. Blake had allegedly leaked or threatened to leak Deadpool's secrets in a strategic effort to control the narrative and smother the bad press engulfing her career. The response? Explosive! In a town where loyalty is fleeting and reputation is everything, this wasn't just a scandal, it was a career-defining moment. Marvel had never taken legal action like this against the spouse of one of its biggest stars. This wasn't some routine lawsuit over contracts or scheduling conflicts. This was an internal sabotage scandal. And if the allegations were true, it meant trust between Marvel and the Reynolds lively household had completely shattered. For years, Ryan Reynolds had been the face of Deadpool, a cornerstone of the franchise's success. But now, the studio was openly questioning whether someone in his inner circle had jeopardized its most guarded secrets. Blake's team wasted no time firing back. In a swift and fiery statement, they denied everything. They insisted she never had access to classified Deadpool details, so leaking them would have been impossible. They also accused Marvel of using her as a scapegoat, pinning broader internal leaks on her to cover up their own security failures. But there was just one problem. Those messy, unfiltered messages from her dispute with Justin Baldoni were still out there, and they didn't paint her in the best light. The texts suggested she had no issue pulling strings behind the scenes when it benefited her. That raised the real question: just how far would she go? The controversy was so massive that it even overshadowed Ryan Reynolds himself. Normally, the king of witty social media comebacks, the man who could turn any situation into a joke, had gone completely silent. And in Hollywood, silence often speaks louder than words. Some believed Ryan Reynolds had stepped back to strategize, crafting a defense that could protect both his career and his marriage. Others speculated he was paralyzed by the impossible choice: publicly stand by Blake and risk clashing with Marvel, or align with the studio and throw his own wife under the bus. With neither Ryan nor Marvel offering any insight into their behind-the-scenes talks, the stakes only grew higher. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni, the director who had inadvertently kicked off this firestorm by releasing text messages in his own defense, was now dodging a tidal wave of media scrutiny. Suddenly, no one cared about his film. All anyone wanted to know was his take on the Marvel-versus Blake legal war. Treading carefully, Justin reiterated that his only goal had been to clear up misconceptions about his directing style and creative authority. Even he seemed blindsided by just how far this drama had spiraled. In a few interviews, he admitted that if Blake had truly used Deadpool intel to manipulate media coverage, the implications were way more serious than he initially thought. But he remained cautious, making it clear that his focus was still on completing his film, not getting dragged deeper into the blazing legal inferno that had erupted. Marvel's lawsuit wasn't just about bad press. It hinted at serious breaches of confidentiality, potential financial damages, and contract violations that could have massive consequences. Though the studio kept details vague, insiders suggested that if the case moved forward, attorneys could demand everything, phone records, emails, and text logs from both Blake and Ryan. If Marvel found evidence that classified Deadpool information had been used as leverage, the fallout would be catastrophic. With tensions this personal, the chances of more private communications leaking into the public eye seemed inevitable. What started as a heated feud between Blake and Justin had mutated into something much bigger. A power struggle that could reshape Hollywood's biggest star alliances. Would Ryan Reynolds still be the face of Deadpool if his wife stood accused of undermining the very franchise that made him a box office titan? Could Marvel even continue working with him if its relationship with Blake soured beyond repair? The implications were massive, turning what seemed like Hollywood gossip into a make-or-break moment for one of the industry's most bankable stars. Fans, meanwhile, split into factions. Some refused to believe that Blake would ever deliberately sabotage the Deadpool empire. After all, that franchise saved Ryan's career, propelling him from romantic comedies into the top tier of global blockbusters. Why would she risk all that? But others saw things differently. If the unfiltered text messages from her feud with Justin proved anything, it was that Blake knew how to play the game. To them, this wasn't about Deadpool, it was about power. Controlling the headlines mattered more than the collateral damage left in her wake. And that theory only gained traction when her own attorney made a sudden exit, citing irreconcilable differences with Blake's version of events. Then came the next bombshell. What had once been just rumors started to solidify. A handful of entertainment outlets claimed they'd been fed exclusive tips from sources allegedly close to Blake. Tips that included leaked details on Deadpool's upcoming cameos and plot twists. If true, it wasn't just gossip anymore. It was a direct link between Blake and Marvel's most guarded secrets. And in Hollywood, leaking secrets can end careers. Marvel's legal complaint reportedly contained time-stamped evidence, a direct link between the leaked Deadpool secrets and the exact moments when Blake faced the most intense scrutiny over her feud with Justin Baldoni. If the evidence held up in court, it wouldn't just be a coincidence. It would be proof that she, or someone in her circle, strategically dropped classified Marvel intel to manipulate media coverage and bury the negative headlines swirling around her. In the public eye, the timing was too perfect to ignore. And just like that, the scandal exploded. Paparazzi swarmed outside Blake and Ryan's home, desperate for a statement. Every tiny change in their social media presence was dissected. Fans and reporters alike searched for any clue about their next move. Would Blake attempt to settle quietly behind closed doors? Or would she go on the offensive, hitting back with a countersuit and accusing Marvel of targeting her unfairly? Another wild rumor suggested she might go for a public apology, spinning the ordeal as a misunderstanding gone too far. But no resolution came, only more speculation, more questions, and zero clear answers. Inside Marvel, the message was crystal clear. They weren't backing down. Studio insiders told reporters that nothing mattered more than protecting the Deadpool franchise. Whether the leaks were intentional or not, no one, not even someone connected to one of their biggest stars, was going to jeopardize the integrity of their billion-dollar empire. For years, Marvel had gone above and beyond to keep its future storylines under wraps. Tight NDAs, top-tier security on set, even coded scripts to prevent leaks. Their system was airtight. But if someone inside the inner circle had found a way around those protections to manipulate the media, this wasn't just about one scandal. It was a full-blown crisis that could shake the entire studio. With public pressure mounting, Ryan Reynolds finally broke his silence. In a brief but carefully worded statement, he expressed deep respect for Marvel and a commitment to resolving the situation fairly. But the most telling part? He never directly mentioned Blake's name. The message was diplomatic, focused on his love for Deadpool, the very role that saved his career. But what stood out was what wasn't said. He didn't defend Blake. He didn't say she was innocent. He didn't even hint at standing by her. It was a neutral stance, but one that spoke volumes. And honestly, that silence was louder than any declaration. Ryan was in an impossible position. alienate Marvel and risk his future with the studio, or publicly side against his own wife, unleashing chaos in his personal life. His choice to stay firmly in the middle only fueled speculation that behind closed doors, things were unraveling fast. As for Blake, her immediate reaction to Ryan's carefully measured words remained a mystery. But insiders whispered that tensions were rising. The couple, known for their playful social media banter, suddenly shifted to radio silence. Their once lively interactions were replaced by sterile promotional posts, offering no insight into what was really going on behind the scenes. And in Hollywood, when the jokes stop, the real drama begins. Some fans speculated that behind the scenes, Ryan and Blake were strategizing together, crafting a plan to dismantle Marvel's claims and clear her name. Others, however, believed a very different story, that Ryan had no idea about Blake's alleged leaks and never expected the situation to explode into a full-scale legal war. If true, that could mean serious friction between them. Hollywood insiders knew the stakes were massive. If Marvel's lawsuit stuck, if they proved Blake had orchestrated leaks, her career could take a devastating hit. Studios might distance themselves, unwilling to risk working with someone entangled in such high-level controversy. But if Marvel's case crumbled, if they failed to deliver concrete evidence, Blake might walk away unscathed, at least legally. Yet, in an industry driven by perception, the whisper of scandal can be just as damaging as the truth. Marvel, on the other hand, was playing a dangerous game. If they came across as too aggressive, they risked alienating fans. But for them to take such a bold legal step, they had to believe they had serious evidence, something so damning that they were willing to go all in. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni had finally wrapped principal photography on his adaptation, but his victory was overshadowed by the Hollywood firestorm still raging around him. The scandal that started on his set had spiraled into a battle that now involved one of the biggest studios in the world. Though he kept his distance from the Marvel lawsuit, he admitted the entire situation felt surreal. What started as a personal conflict had exploded into an all-consuming spectacle, one that divided fans into factions, those desperate to see Blake vindicated, those fiercely loyal to Marvel, and those who were simply stunned by the sheer scale of the drama. And with no clear resolution in sight, this was far from over. Some crew members admitted they never expected the behind-the-scenes friction to explode into an industry-shaking scandal. But as the legal battle dragged on, one thing became painfully clear. The fallout wouldn't just shape Blake's future, it could completely alter the fate of Deadpool itself. Marvel's creative team was known for plotting years in advance, carefully crafting interconnected stories across multiple films. But if their trust in Ryan Reynolds took a serious hit, or if the studio decided to reevaluate his role entirely, fans could witness an unthinkable shift. Could they really risk losing the wisecracking anti-hero who had become a cornerstone of the franchise? Would Deadpool be erased or even recast? The possibility sent shockwaves through the fandom. Meanwhile, Blake, under relentless scrutiny, was rumored to be considering a private sit-down with Marvel's top executives to explain herself directly. Some whispers even suggested she was debating revealing her phone logs and personal records to prove she never shared classified Deadpool storylines. But not everyone was convinced. Cynics weren't buying it. The text messages Justin Baldoni had already released painted a different picture. One where Blake appeared skilled at saying just enough to imply certain truths without ever outright admitting them. That became the real legal question. If Marvel could trace specific leaks back to people connected to Blake, did her careful wording in those texts serve as genuine disclaimers or just strategic deniability? For the fan community, the emotional conflict was real. They had loved Blake for years. Her past films, her effortless charm, her trend-setting style. She always seemed approachable, unguarded, and effortlessly cool. But now, they were left grappling with a very different version of her. One entangled in the most explosive Marvel controversy in years. At the same time, fans found themselves torn. They adored Marvel, the powerhouse studio that had built an empire of unforgettable characters. And they loved Deadpool, the wisecracking anti-hero who had transformed Ryan Reynolds into one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. Now, those two worlds were colliding in a legal war against Blake Lively, an actress many had also admired for years. The result? Total chaos in the fandom. Online debates erupted. Was Marvel overreaching with its legal firepower, turning an internal issue into a full-scale courtroom battle? Or were they completely justified in protecting their billion-dollar franchise from any threat, no matter who was involved? Industry insiders watched it all unfold, calling it a cautionary tale, a stark reminder of how quickly a private Hollywood squabble can spiral when major franchises and A-list egos clash. One day, Blake was just a celebrated actress locked in a minor creative dispute with a director. The next, she was staring down a lawsuit from one of the most powerful studios in the world. And if this ordeal proved anything, it was that not even star power grants immunity when you mess with a studio's most valuable secrets. Marvel had spent years meticulously crafting its cinematic universe, and they weren't about to let anyone, even someone in their own extended circle, jeopardize that. But where does it all lead? That remains a mystery. Hollywood lawsuits are notorious for taking unpredictable turns. More often than not, cases like this never make it to trial. Hush-hush settlements happen behind closed doors, keeping the real details buried from the public. If Marvel and Blake quietly reach an agreement, fans might never know the true extent of the allegations. But if neither side backs down, things could get ugly. If this battle moves to depositions, with lawyers digging into private communications, texts, and industry dealings, then the world might finally see just how deep this scandal really goes. And at that point, there's no going back. This lawsuit could crack open a trove of private communications, either confirming Marvel's case or completely discrediting their claims. Whether this ends with a quiet settlement or escalates into a headline-dominating courtroom battle, one thing is clear: Hollywood stardom is more fragile than ever. One day, you're owning the red carpet, flashing smiles for the cameras. The next, you're embroiled in a legal war with one of the most powerful studios in entertainment history. All because the line between personal ambition and professional ethics got blurred. For better or worse, Marvel has made its stance clear. They're sending a message, not just to Blake, but to everyone in their orbit. It doesn't matter how famous you are or how close you are to one of their stars. Leaking the secrets that fuel an entire cinematic universe is off limits. And if you cross that line, the backlash is brutal, the consequences unforgiving, and not even the biggest names in Hollywood can escape the fallout. What do you think? Did Marvel overreact, or were they right to take legal action? Let's hear your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss the next deep dive. See you in the next one!